Okay, so I'm in a hurry, so I got to make up a lot of money. But so here's the second part. So the 500 was for her documents, and I kind of understood that because usually a passport can cost like $70, and then maybe a visa costs maybe it costs you $100 or whatever. Maybe in Russia it's more expensive. So I gave her the 500, and she was like, "Oh, I'm the happiest girl in the world. I have my passport and my visa. They gave me my visa and all this stuff." She was giving me excitement. So there was victory, right? And victory, and she was victorious in some of the things that she was getting. So she was letting me know that she was happy and she was coming to see me and that we were going to start over and all this other stuff. Then I would call it the touring visa scam. So she's like, "Well, I've got a touring visa, so I need a round trip ticket, which will be $1,000, and then I'll be there, and don't worry about it." And that was it. I gave her the 1,000, I gave her the 500, and that was it. That's all I could afford. I wouldn't even give her a penny more. Now, the night before she arrived, she sent this message late at night saying, "Oh, customs stopped me, and they need $2,700 for me to show, but I'll give this money back to you. All you got to do is send it to me." I knew immediately she was a fraudster. I knew right then. I said, "No more money." I knew she was lying. She had been playing on my emotions for quite a bit of time. I got to wrap this up pretty quick. So all of a sudden, I tell her, "Look, I can't give you any more money." And she's trapped in Moscow, and these homeless guys are trying to rape her at night, and she's staying in these stores. And part of me believed that she was stranded in this Moscow airport or at this Moscow internet cafe. And it was she needed this $2,700 that she was going to give back to me when she flew to DFW and all this stuff. I knew immediately she was frauding me. So I started asking for her locations a lot, and she would get quiet. But she'd send me these short messages. So at first, it started off with a short message about Plenty of Fish. Then it led to documents like a passport and a visa, $500. Then a touring visa was the next part of the scam. That's $1,000. Then stopped at customs, and I'll just give the money back to you. That's $2,700. So it went up and up and up. I never got to the $2,700 part. I knew she was scamming at that point. But I can tell you this, part of me knew as a banker, I've been a banker for 5 years, part of me knew that this was fraud, and then part of me she played on my emotions. So part of me knew that, wow, she's listening to me. This woman really likes me, and she wants to meet me, and all these beautiful photos of her, and she looked like a young Naomi Watts and all this stuff, and it was just amazing. But I am talking to a guy from MTV that's dealing with Catfish. And what the difference with Catfish and the scammer is a Catfish actually sits side by side with you and it is attached to you emotionally, even kind of a physical, emotional connection with you. And then they fraud you and you leave and you're missing stuff and you're everything. They can get more of you because they're next to you. I never got to that point. I cut her off immediately after the 1,500. And I knew immediately she was a fraudster whenever she said she was stopped in customs. In Google, I put in Rushin stopped at customs, $2,700 to prove. It pulled up some dialogue about scammers. That led to a New York Times article that was published, I think, 2011. I'll have to get the author's name, the journalist's name. And it was all about fraudsters coming out of Russia and preying on abandoned men or men that were hurt. And I have been abandoned by my wife. Anyway, I'm working on Act 2 now. So Act 1 is mostly a one-man show with one experience between a rideshare guy named Jay. I'll talk about the actor studio and things like that in it, about this guy who wants to be an actor, and there's a little scene in Act 1 which talks mostly about Elle. You hear Elle's voice speaking and giving the letters in the play. And then you hear about a woman named Doris King that's out in Ohio, and she's trying to get account numbers and stuff. So it's a lot about fraudster. So Russian Better Fly is a lot about fraudster. But it's also about him, the lead character, Ash Cole, who is being abandoned by his wife. And so does his wife return in Act 2? Does Elle finally make it past customs? Does Doris come down from Ohio, or does he go up to Ohio to find Doris? So it's about these relationships that he's met on Plenty of Fish and fraudsters. And if his wife wasn't a fraudster because she gave him 3 kids, but she did abandon him, which is kind of a form of fraud. So you kind of get thrown out to these pack of, like a pack of wolves kind of thing, like the domestic dog going out to these pack of wolves. And that's what happens when you abandon your husband. You leave him, he loses the protection, because a wife is there for 3 a wife is there for three different reasons. She's there for pleasure. She's also there for procreation, to have children, and the wife is there for protection. So when the wife leaves, you lose that sense of protection. You become abandoned, and you can be hurt very badly, and you can be scammed very quickly. And plenty of fish, there are plenty of scammers on that. So this play, Russian Butterfly, or Russian Butterfly, is about fraudsters that are out there in the dating scene, whether they're in Russia or whether they're in Ohio. And I don't know if Doris is real or not. I'm not giving her any information. I will never send any more information through Western Union or anything like that again, because I was completely sold. And part of me knew it was scam. Part of me was sold because of how specific her letters were and how detailed they were and how she played on my emotions. But that's basically what it's about. And Act 2 will include that new person that comes into my life. I don't know who it will be. I don't know if it'll be my wife coming back to me. I don't know if it'll be a new person starting over. But I think there needs to be a recovery in Act 2 from the abandonment and from the scammers. It needs to go in a different direction. So I'm giving Act 2 some time. It may take me another year. But Act 1 is almost completed. And you see how hurt this person is. The protagonist character is named Ash Cole. So anyway, I talked to a guy on TV about catfishing, about people that get catfished. That's when they get emotionally involved side by side and they lie to them and take stuff from them. But I'll get back to you about that. But thanks for watching for now. This is about Russian Butterfly, the play that's turning into more than just a one-man play. But we'll see with Act 2.